Cool.
We need a better sign off.
Hey, it's episode 3.
So let's get focused and let's build a story. Who's got an idea to throw out? Because it ain't this guy.
It was your turn.
Like it always winds up looking like it's a garbage bag. I guess thrown through a garbage bag. Hey, dude, hit mute when you're coughing.
I'm sorry.
Hey everybody, welcome to Story Builder Podcast. I'm JD, novelist, comic writer, former film person who ran away screaming into the night. Joined as always by my brother Matt, my best friend Dan. What's happening, guys?
Not too much, man. How's it going with you guys?
Great. I figured I'd start the show because we were in the middle of a rant about how bad Man of Steel is. So I figured we'll just pick up the show from right here as we talk about building stories. Truth be told, I hate Man of Steel. And I love Superman. Like, they both heard me go off on my little tangents on why Superman is one of the best characters in not only comics, but in popular fiction in general. So, we were just talking about everything wrong with Man of Steel. I hate Man of Steel. Matthew?
Yes. Hello, everybody. I am not a fan of the Man of Steel movie at all. Not a fan of the most of the Detective Comics films of this generation.
First of all, DC Comics does not stand...
Wonder Woman was pretty good, but I pulled that apart from the rest of them.
The company is not called Detective Comics. Detective Comics is just what the company was named after. It's just
DC. Yes. You know, long story short, Man of Steel. And before that, we were talking about the things that are good about it. The cinematography is awesome. The lighting is awesome. I think the acting is done well as far as what the script demanded. And I think that script was done very well, except the script itself sucked. Just what the story was it would have been okay for what I consider a 1970s or early 80s superhero movie where you weren't expecting much out of it at all. You know?
No, it's exactly the opposite. It would have been horrible for a 1970s or 80s superhero film. It's perfect for this era where people miss the goddamn point. Dan, welcome.
Well, I agree with Matthew. I think I've been let down myself by a lot of the DC cinema world thus far, pretty much with the exception of Chris Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy.
Well, those don't count.
I think everything else DC is essentially Diet Marvel. I think Marvel has made tremendous moves over the last decade plus, and DC is just always a step behind.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that this is even my problems with it aren't even the fact that it always tries to like catch up with Marvel. And I think there's things that DC does a little bit better, like especially with like color palette and production design stuff. Marvel stuff is shot very flat, where I don't like the color grading that's on the DC movies, but at least they're trying. Like at least it's trying to look different. Like it always winds up looking like it's a garbage bag. It's filmed through a garbage bag. Hey, dude, hit mute when you're coughing.
I'm sorry.
My biggest problem with Man of Steel is the fact that they wanted an excuse for Superman to kill. So they create this situation where they think that Superman has to kill in order to stop Zod. And the fact that tens of thousands of people die before that scene, when Metropolis is leveled to the ground, like... That I don't think that's the way a Superman story is supposed to be. Like, Superman is a character that's supposed to inspire hope and passion from people. It's not the Punisher. It's not Batman. Like, you do that to Superman because you want to see him kill someone because you think it's cool. Or you think it justifies him. Or you think it's more real. Like, I'm looking for realism in a story about a superpowered alien. Like, it just bugs me because it's not right. Like, that is the most nihilistic Randian piece of superhero fiction that's ever been created. And like not a day goes by that I don't think about how much I've disliked those movies and how much that superhero universe got off into the wrong foot with Man of Steel. Wonder Woman is really good. But that's become an aberration. Shazam was fun.
Yeah, I think
That's
it's been the DC passion right now to make the films dark. You know, let's make everybody speak with gravel in their throat and make it dark, which works like crazy for many characters. But man, they've just proven many, many times it does not work for Superman. Like
it's not Superman.
like
Like,
entertaining or fun. I mean, I could see watching that movie once and going, all right, and then walking away and going, I'll never watch that again, or I don't really care to watch it again. But Superman needs to be fun above all. There needs to be something light about a being that's completely perfect. Or
no, see, and this is where I'll argue with you. Superman is not a being that's completely perfect. Superman is a being that inspires people to be better than themselves. Superman is about hope. And I think that it doesn't need to be light. Like, some of the best Superman stories ever written are dark stories, but Superman has to be the light of the world. Like, otherwise, why wouldn't he? If Superman thought and acted like a regular person, he would conquer and be a despot.
I think you're
like,
right.
Superman
I think
can't be
not
that.
Darkness, but just grit. You know, I mean, I think it tries to play in the world of Batman. It plays in a world of really dark, gritty film noir. And you could have a dark Superman. You could have an evil Superman, but just the point where it's not so gray. Like, Superman has to be in a color. You know, there has to be some vibrance to Superman in order for you to really feel what the character is really about.
Superman needs
the most
to be
fun
the light of
versions
the
of
world.
the character, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, it doesn't like fun. Almost like Marvel should be fun. Like, Marvel movies are fun. That's why they work. But there are also some heavy elements into it that when stuff happens, you feel things. In these DC movies, it's just things happening and you don't really feel for them. Like, I don't think these movies work on the way that they want them to. And it comes down to the fact they cast the right guy. Henry Cavill could have been a great Superman, but you got, another guy who could have been great, Kevin Costner playing Jonathan Kent, who's telling him to let people die. It doesn't work. It's like Zack Snyder just loved Atlas Shrugged so much that he felt the need to make it as Superman. It doesn't make sense to me. So the point of the Story Builder podcast is we start with a little mini rant on whatever's on our mind with pop culture, storytelling, and then we kind of go from there. And we take an hour to build a story from scratch. And it's not a perfect story, but it's basically like, all right, you've got a loose idea. How do you build a story that then you can go off and create? So that's kind of the idea. I'm a novelist. Dan is a director with the Directors Guild of America. My brother Matt is he's getting to be a writer. He's worked in film and television for the last decade plus, and he's really starting his writing journey pretty much now, getting his own things going. So that's kind of the idea of the show, is we're just going to build an idea from scratch. And it was supposed to be my week to come up with an idea, but I forgot we were going to do the show today. So I came in armed with nothing.
You were armed with nothing. You were armed with a huge steaming dump on somebody else's writing.
I didn't take a dump on somebody else's writing.
Take that, Superman.
It's not. No.
Take that, Superman.
No. David Goyer's not a bad writer. I'm not saying
no.
that. I don't think he gets Superman though. And I'm not alone in this. Most comic book writers don't
it might
think
not
Superman
be the writer's
achieves
point of view either. I mean, I think
no,
Goyer wrote the story that he was, told to write. I think DC
he was on board
trying,
with it, though.
as much as Marvel takes a strong hold of the reins of their stories, I think DC does the same. And DC,
no, it's the opposite. DC.
I mean, I think DC is just trying to
catch.
catch up as fast as possible.
That's
to
true.
make a big extravaganza, whereas Marvel had a benefit of time to breathe and slowly build up their stories. And unfortunately, when you do that, when you try to play catch up, you just try to move from one thing to the next. And the fastest and best way to do that is just to have exposition told on screen. Just to have your character say, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, just to get from point A to point B to point C as fast as you possibly can. Because in your mind, what's cool is point E. And that just takes away a lot of the useless wandering, which is the fun parts of characters. Which is the fun parts that when they mess up, they make mistakes, they do their own things, they go off on their own little side ideas. And that's when you get to learn about who those characters are. That's what makes them kind of fun to learn about, who you can compare them to in your mind. And when you're doing exposition like that, it's fun. It's necessary to get, to get from one place quick to another. And once in a while in a story, it's perfectly fine. But I think a lot of the DC problems are just that. They're just trying to catch up to Marvel and get to their Thanos as fast as they possibly could. Throw as many characters on screen as possible. And just, unfortunately, it really doesn't work. Although they're still making them, so what the heck? What do I know?
Actually, they're not. They've reformed and tried to refocus. They were trying to get to Darkseid as quick as possible with Justice League 2, but Justice League 1 was such a hard thing to follow that it just didn't work. So let's get focused and let's build a story. Who's got an idea to throw out? Because it ain't this guy.
It was your turn. I did one.
It was my turn.
Dan did one, and now it's you. Well, what would you do for a Superman movie?
How would I build a Superman movie?
Yeah. What would be your ideas for a Superman movie?
Since my days of trying to be a director are done, I can lay this all out and not worry about anything. Gentlemen, the hour has begun. So I think the most important thing about Superman is understanding the core of what he is, and that is a character that is about hope. Like, all comic characters have a big part of the era they created them as part of their DNA. And what Superman is at his core is a New Deal Democrat, a Roosevelt-style Democrat, built by two Jewish kids from Cleveland.
And JD just lost 2/3 of the audience. By saying
that's
Democrat
what he is,
and
saying Jewish kid, but that's what Superman is. No. Kal-El, the guy's name is Kal-El. Like, there's a reason. I mean, that's what he is. That's what, and you have to understand what the character is. Like, I know people say, "Oh, Superman is perfect. Superman is a Boy Scout," and that's where you lose what makes Superman special. Superman is the best of us. Because Superman is not human and has grown up wanting to be human, he aspires to be us. And he looks at people as like the best of what they are, right? He doesn't like Batman has this very myopic view of people where he doesn't like what he sees when he looks at humanity. Superman looks at humanity and just sees potential, the potential to be better than what they are, because he is better than what we are. So, I mean, Superman is always trying to lift people up. And you have to understand it. Like, the second you start having Superman, be grim and gritty, and you just miss the point of what he is. So I think that if I was building a Superman movie, I think a lot of the structure that Richard Donner created in '78 is where I would start from. Like, I think the best way to start would be kind of like with Kryptonians coming toward Earth, and then you flashback. And I would spend a little more time on Krypton, and I would actually steal a little bit from... There's an Alan Moore story called... I'm doing all the talking in this episode, so please jump in, guys. There's an Alan Moore story called For the Man Who Has Everything. It's this really cool Superman story. It's Superman... do you guys know Alan Moore? When I say the name Alan Moore,
yeah, the Watchmen and Swamp Thing and
what? Yes,
V for Vendetta. Man with long beard who looks crazy. Yeah,
is crazy. In fact, he has a Superman story. He has a Superman story where Batman, Robin, and Wonder Woman are visiting him on his birthday in the Fortress of Solitude, and it's all, what do you get? And the question is, what do you get for the man who has everything?
That sounds like an Alan Moore story. Yeah,
it is. And they arrive at Superman's home, and he's got this giant plant strapped to his chest. And it's the villain is Mogul, and Superman is comatose. And what he's doing is he's envisioning his life on Krypton had he never left and had Krypton never exploded. So he's literally... They actually did an episode of Justice League, the TV show, the old animated show, about the same thing. And on that, you get a taste of what Krypton was like. And it's... the Moore story is a lot darker than the Paul Dini... I believe it was Paul Dini who wrote the Justice League version. It was actually Dwayne McDuffie who wrote the Justice League animated version. I would take some of the elements that are brought in, like the idea of the Kryptonian cults, and the idea that there was a more of a religious movement that was fighting over the fate of Krypton with Jor-El as the planet is going to die. So that way you build because I would totally mirror it with what we have now with climate change and all that, and the people that are denying its existence, the worshippers of Rao, battling it out with the Science Guild, the people who think the planet is in danger, and the people in charge are. Or not the people in charge, I'm sorry. Jor-El is the one who's trying to be like, we have to do something, and no one listens to him. And then he has to throw out his son. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the origin. It works perfectly. And I still love, to this day, the where he took the Zod, Ursa, and Nan and puts them in the Phantom Zone. Like, it's a great way, because that's his plan, is he's going to save his family by putting them into the Phantom Zone. Doesn't have enough time to make it work, so he has to fire Superman off into a rocket ship. Now, you have to... Now, in the first, the Donner movie, it really divorces itself from that moment. It becomes something completely different. What I would do from there is I would take... And this is like what Snyder did a little bit. It actually worked, because Snyder had Zod's people finding him, and then the chaos ensues. I would actually take that moment and have something Kryptonian trying to either find Superman or escape from the Phantom Zone.
Okay.
In fact, that's what I'd probably do. I would have
let me
Lex
challenge
Luthor.
you with this then.
Please, I've been babbling. Someone else jump in.
I see this going down the route that is of the origin story or near to the origin story. And I
agree.
think I'm going to challenge you with the modern Spider-Man effect, meaning we already know who he is. Mm-hmm. Just get to a story. Like, get to another one. Like, tell me the Vulture story. Tell me the Mysterio story. So what is the next Superman story? Maybe if I don't know if you have to work with the Snyder movies already, but work with in that universe. But what would you do to this culture who already kind of knows Superman and kind of questions who Superman is now, because they know the old Richard Donner Superman, they know the shining colors there, and they know the dark grit of the Snyder one. So they both are like, I want. Some people like this guy, some people like that guy. They're kind of on the fence. So, what would you tell? Okay, this is a new chance. I'm going to move on the next story of Superman and redirect kind of what I like to think about with Superman. So, what would be your next? The continuation of the Superman story today.
See, I disagree. No, see, I think that the origin story, because it hasn't been done right.
Okay.
Like, it hasn't been exploited to its fullest. Like, yes, we all know. Yeah, everyone knows Batman's parents get shot. It still works, right? It's still like Uncle Ben. It does work. Like, just and in Superman,
so your Superman story would have Batman's parents get shot.
No, maybe. Maybe.
There's no Batman in it. There's no Batman in it. We're just going to cross the street and see the theater. And then I'll be in the background.
What I would really... Okay, if you're going to say skip the origin stuff, what I would really want to do is I would tell a story about Lex Luthor, the guy who has the guy who does have everything.
Okay.
Right. And I would portray Luthor as somewhere between... the best Lex Luthor, I think, that's ever been done is the Michael Rosenbaum from Smallville. He is the most Luthor-like, and he also had 6 or 8 years to play with the character before he left the show. So you get a ton of development with that Lex Luthor. What I would want to see from this Luthor, and I thought this is where they were going to go with it in the Snyderverse, but they didn't, was something that's a little more like a tech genius, like a Bill Gates or a Zuckerberg type of guy, mm-hmm. that is so angry about Superman that he's going to expose him. And I think that people mess this up, because I think Luthor doesn't trust aliens. Like, the idea, what really disgusts Luthor about Superman is the fact that no matter what Lex Luthor does, no matter how smart he is, no matter how hard he trains his body, no matter what he builds, he is an ant to Superman. He is the only one, including Superman himself, that sees Superman for what he is, and it scares him. He's absolutely terrified of Superman.
So it's exploring that concept of
this is what I would do, and I would xenophobia, absolute xenophobia. And I would have Luthor, who literally has everything. He's not a criminal mastermind. He's shady as all get out, but he's not a criminal mastermind. Try to figure out a way to show the world what Superman is. And in that process, really brings himself down. Like his own hubris would bring him down. So, I mean, if you're talking like the second Superman story.
What if he succeeds?
Or like, what's that?
What if Luthor succeeds?
How does he succeed? What does that mean?
I'm just, this is where a new exploration of the story could go. It could be something to the lines of, say you do go the Dark Knight route, meaning the bad guy kind of wins, I gotta hide in the shadows for a while. Or I gotta let the world think the bad guy won, because the world's better off thinking that way.
No, I don't think you let the world think that the bad guy won. I do think you need a moment where Luthor turns the world against Superman. And that's the story, is where Superman is I think the story that has not been told right is the story, and I haven't got to this yet, but this is what it has to be.
Okay.
The world has to fall in love with Superman. And it can't be just he saves people. And I think that's how you start off. You have Luthor questioning it. Being like, look, why? I mean, just how it happens, these planes fall out of the sky when this magic person suddenly appears.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine Luthor.
You save the cat. That's the easiest way to show any superhero, let alone Superman. So how do you not save the cat? How do you...
No, I think you do save the cat, and then you have Luthor go on Hannity the next day and say, why was the cat in that tree? What is the deep state conspiracy that's being built to prop up this God amongst men? What would a God do when he walks amongst men? A God is sent forth to have men rule him, to have men worship him.
So the deep state isn't run by lizard people, it's run by Kryptonians?
This is not a Jericho story. So there's no lizard people.
Plug for Jericho.
I do like the...
Can we start that hashtag, by the way, plugs for Jericho? Is that
plugs for
Jericho. I
Conspiracy
do like
theory.
that juxtaposition in your story, JD, with with the xenophobia and with Lex Luthor going on Hannity the next day, and just the parallels that you could draw to the current political climate with
that's what I would do. I would use Superman I would use Luthor almost like, imagine if Trump was a little bit smoother.
Yeah,
because Trump is just he appeals to the lowest common denominator. Where I would have Luthor be almost like Neil deGrasse Tyson, trying to appeal to the intellectuals and get people to question it. And he could be like, I'm not saying Superman's evil. I'm just saying, why do you think he's doing these things? And then Luthor is pushed to prove his theory.
Okay.
So then what I would do is I would incorporate a third villain, like a second villain, not a third villain. I would incorporate Brainiac. And my favorite, and this is in my version of how Krypton is destroyed. I'm going to steal from the animated series, and that Brainiac is the artificial intelligence that runs Krypton.
Okay.
And that this is Paul Dini's Superman from the mid-90s.
I will admit that I'm kind of saddened we didn't go with the Mr. Mixaplick route. Just because I love saying that name.
I have a great... It's Mixia Spitlick.
Sorry. My alien isn't what it once was.
It's not alien, it's fifth dimension.
In a long time.
He's an imp from the fifth dimension. Get it straight.
The fifth dimension. I loved that, man.
Yes. This was the dawning of the age of Aquarius. In fact,
but he's the trickster. He's like the Loki of Superman. So it could have been kind of fun to play with that world. Anyway,
you could play that, but not for. That's Superman 4, or Superman's a TV show. You play with Mixus Spitlick.
Yeah.
But anyways, so Brainiac is the artificial intelligence that covered up that Krypton was going to be destroyed to save itself. So Brainiac manifests itself as a human who is now not a human, but a humanoid type creature that is an artificial intelligence that's going around the universe collecting information. Because Brainiac, the original Brainiac, he puts the cities in the bottles, right?
Yes.
So I think you can do the same thing with, instead, this Brainiac takes digital impressions of everything. So he's going around collecting information from all these worlds
he's a
and
Google
destroying.
truck?
Kinda.
Okay.
Kinda.
So he's just taking images of everything?
No, he's data. He's just ripping the data from everything.
Okay.
Like, he's making records. Like, he just wants... Like, he's a giant hard drive that consumes.
Essentially kind of like that technology that they used in The Dark Knight to find the Joker, but on steroids.
Kind of, yeah, very much so.
He's Jarvis. He's
Jarvis.
He's Ultron. More like Ultron, but with a different... Like, the Ultron that they did in the Avengers movie is definitely more like the Brainiac.
Will he be as throwaway as Ultron was?
Boy, I hope not. So that's what I would do, is I think Luthor is challenged to create a better artificial intelligence that can compete, so he can compete with Superman. And in his quest to do that, he earns the attention of Brainiac. Because these are the best Silver Age stories, or the Bronze Age stories, are the Luthor Brainiac team-up stories.
Okay.
So that's what I would do. I would have
Can
Brainiac...
I challenge you with one more thing?
Let me finish my pitch, and then
okay.
Go, yeah. And then I would have Luthor and Brainiac working like a scheme where Luthor, they're both trying, like what I have is I'd have Luthor and Brainiac both manipulating each other. Is Luthor underestimates how powerful Brainiac is, and he wants to use Brainiac to become part of his system. Like, imagine Luthor trying to use Brainiac to become what like Lex Windows or Lex iOS. Mm-hmm. That would be the Brainiac system. Whereas Brainiac is going to use Luthor and his systems to rip all the memory of Earth and eradicate it so it can move on.
Okay.
And then at the end, I would do some type of just for the big fight, I would have Luthor build his suit. Only it's powered by Brainiac.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I would do. It's not perfect. Again, I wasn't planning on doing this, so I don't have the big pitch, but I have thought a lot about this, of what I would like to do if I had Superman. I would have Superman versus Brainiac, the relic of his own past, versus Luthor, who is challenging him for what he is in the human race. So you have a villain that challenges both his human side and his Kryptonian side, and in order to beat them both, Clark Kent and Clark, okay, there's always this, what Quentin Tarantino says in Kill Bill is wrong. Like, his whole spiel that Clark Kent is weak and stupid because that's how Superman views humanity. Wrong.
Yeah.
Clark Kent is the guy. Superman is a put-on, and Kal-El doesn't exist.
I agree with that. I think it's one of those things that makes him different than Batman. Is that Batman would rather be Batman, but just has to be Bruce as well. Like, Superman would rather be Clark Kent.
Right. Superman doesn't wear a mask because he doesn't think he needs to. People aren't trying to figure out who Superman is. Right? Why would you try to figure out a guy who doesn't wear a mask?
Well, you're saying that Superman believes in the best in people. Mm-hmm. Why doesn't he try to bring out the best in Lex?
He does. He does the whole time.
What I mean is, like, it's starting to follow the route of the superhero. Not only is he got to fight one bad guy, he's got to fight two bad guys, and it's like he's got to beat them both. Can he do it? That's always an interesting story, but is it?
It's a trope. It's a trope.
It's a trope, but it works. It's a storytelling trope, but it works. If Brainiac gets so powerful that Lex and Superman realize they have to team up, or Lex has to abandon who Lex is for the moment. Or even Superman has to abandon who Superman is for the moment. And that's
you can't have that. That can't happen. Superman cannot abandon what he is. He can be tempted. And I almost don't mind having a last temptation of Superman.
The image that he's trying to project, or the image of the world sees of him. Like, would he be able to be could he be the Dark Knight in the fact that I can be whatever my city wants me to be? If they need to think of me as the bad guy right now in order for everything to be better, maybe that's the way to do it. Maybe Lex actually wins. Maybe Superman actually loses, but I almost said Gotham wins. But Metropolis wins instead.
But I think that's the error in your story of your idea, because that is the Dark Knight.
True. I just try to think of ways to not throw Brainiac away, because I think Lex Superman is always the dynamic. That's like the Batman Joker dynamic with a different feel to it.
It is.
Brainiac in this story is like a speed bump along the way.
No.
And I think that's kind of losing what Brainiac's power is.
It is.
He's an
You're
also
correct.
ran.
No, he's not. Brainiac is what Brainiac is Brainiac is a bridge to who Superman, and this is the true story. Is it's what I would do. The core of Superman is him trying to find his balance. How do you balance Clark with Kal-El? How does a person of two worlds find his balance in this new one? Right? So Brainiac would be the enemy of Kal-El, while Luthor would be the enemy of Superman. And he has to fight a war on both fronts. And it's really, the story is Superman. It's not Superman's relationship with Metropolis, which is what you're at. I'm not saying that's a bad idea. That's just not what I would do. What I would try to do is I would try to have the story be Superman is that Clark Kent came up wanting to use his powers to help people, but his whole life he's been told you can't let people know what you are. So rather than just being Clark Kent the superhero, he creates Superman the Mask, the false persona, and now has the whole he has to change, he has to do this, he has to have to wear the glasses so people don't know. And my story would be that balance is impossible to keep. So he has to find the true self. He has to embrace who he is, which is Clark Kent, versus who his father Jor-El wanted him to be, Kal-El. That merged persona, like when we all find that, we all have to find the different parts of who we are. Even Superman. Like Superman has to find the best parts of Clark and the best parts of what could be Kal-El to find Superman. That would be the story I would tell. Like, and Luthor is just a personification of the dark side of humanity. Brainiac is the personification of the dark side of Krypton. And you have to defeat the two evil sides of your two different natures to find the best side of you.
Yeah.
What if
Hey, Dan's
in order to defeat both sides of your nature, you have to team up with one of those sides?
That's actually not a bad. That's not bad.
What if you want the end game of Superman's journey in your story to be finding that balance, but in order to find that balance, he has to dive into the dark side a little bit. So maybe Brainiac. Wait, what was that the character's name?
Mm-hmm. Brainiac, yeah.
Lex and Brainiac.
Maybe. Yeah. So Lex has recruited Brainiac to work with him. Essentially making his powers, his traits, work for him. Now, what if Brainiac decides to try to turn the tables on Lex? Gets a little bit greedy, forcing Lex. The only way Lex can defeat him is with Superman's help.
I agree with that. I think that's the natural progression of the story, because Luthor, in his effort, I think that works perfectly, and that's where I was going to go with it. Because Brainiac is Luthor thinks he's manipulating Brainiac when all he's really done is open Brainiac up to the entire planet. And Luthor, in his effort to defeat this untrustworthy alien, betrays everything he believes in by teaming up with an untrustworthy alien that destroys everything. So when Superman in order for Superman to embrace the best parts of humanity, he literally has to work with the worst part of it, which is greed, corruption, distrust, to save the planet. And I think it would be a great ending is if Luthor does wind up getting a lot of credit for helping save the world. And there's this uneasy balance. Because once Lex Luthor goes to jail, he can never come back, right? You would never have him no one would ever trust him again. I think that's something that needs to be embraced. I think the public, like Trump, half the public should be like, Luthor's a good guy. We should trust Lex Luthor.
Well, maybe, okay. I was going about the angle of why don't we team up Lex and Superman to defeat Brainiac? But I think the best of Superman is to bring out the humanity in people.
Yes.
So instead of trying to bring out the humanity that's already in Lex, has anybody ever tried to bring out the humanity in Brainiac?
No, because there is none. I think that's what's important.
There has been nothing exposed of it. He's the epitome of having no humanity. I get that.
Right.
What if there's a story of, you'd be better, Brainiac, if you were a little human?
And I think that's okay.
And now Superman and Brainiac have to team up to defeat Lex.
I think that doesn't work as well because Brainiac is just so damn powerful. But what I like is if Lex tries to make Brainiac a little more human, and Brainiac does develop some emotions and takes on some of Lex's worst qualities, the greed, the fear, and that forces Brainiac to get sloppy, and that's what kind of allows him to be beaten, because Brainiac successfully destroys all these planets by being cold and calculating. If he embraces a little bit of the Luthorness, it's a chink in the armor. And that's also another story of how humanity needs to aspire to be better. They're able to take Brainiac down by making it more like us.
Isn't that what Luthor's doing though?
Absolutely.
If Brainiac's able to become a little bit evil, isn't he less alien then? Shouldn't the failure be Lex can't make him more human?
I disagree. I see where you're going with this, but I think Lex does make it more human, and it makes it more dangerous, but it also makes it more defeatable.
I guess I'm just thinking, like, making it more human, making it more emotion, making it more emotive is making a robot more emotive, which is the trope, the idea. It is Ultron, and that's what Ultron used a little bit. And I'm trying to think, okay, what if the opposite? And I always tend to think this way. I always tend to go, okay, you're going this way. What if we hit reverse and try to do the opposite of that idea? So I'm thinking, what if Brainiac was not... I guess the power of Brainiac itself is trying to be not human. Is being not human.
No, I think that it is not human. By making it Brainiac become human, you've actually opened it up to be defeated. Because realistically, you can't defeat...
What if Lex learns something by this whole thing? Meaning, he's terrified of what Superman could be, and it's because you can't humanly appeal to Superman, is what his fear is. Because he's cold, he's dead on the inside, he's an alien, he's never going to be like us. There's no way we're going to be able to really communicate with him. What if that's what Brainiac is? What if it shows, Superman may be crazy, but he's better than Brainiac?
I do think that, because I think Luthor is a survivalist. But I was trying to get to what you were saying. What makes Brainiac different than Ultron is that Brainiac has a ton of experience behind him. Ultron has a weekend in Avengers.
Yeah.
What makes Brainiac different is that he's done this.
It's true.
This is what he is.
Ultron was a growing culture. Was a little bit of a germ just starting to get bigger and getting that taste of greed, of growing and growing and growing.
Right. Right. And Brainiac's been doing this, and all Luthor does is its time with Luthor and with humanity poisons it. So, literally, it's the dark side of humanity that brings down Brainiac, whereas Superman has to inspire the hope of humanity. This is you get the two sides of the coin here. Superman had the two Kryptonians, right? The computer becomes the more dark side of humanity, where the human, or the human's a bad term, for lack of a better term, human, Kryptonian individual has to embrace the best parts of humanity to beat him. And then Luthor, I think at the end of the day, winds up being a puppet master who manipulates the whole thing, gets away with it, and is actually emboldened by the process. They have to work together for survival, but at the end of the day, Brainiac was the villain. Despite Luthor pulling all the strings to make it possible, nothing sticks to him, even though Superman knows better. And I like the idea of the idea that Superman also. I like the idea of one of Superman being a villain he can't punch. Right, so he has to use his mind and his intellect to defeat them both. Two, I like the idea that Luthor is kind of untouchable, because that's a real thing. And that so Superman has to figure out, they both have to exist, they have to coexist in this world, where Luthor is evil, and Superman will have to stop him from being evil, but 50% of the country will never turn on him.
Okay. Superman can't punch...
That's my idea.
Superman can't punch him. Do you mean if he tries to punch and fails?
No. He can't punch Lex Luthor. He'll kill him.
True.
And he can't kill him. He also he could punch a bunch of Brainiac bodies, but Brainiac is an artificial intelligence.
I guess what I mean by that is everybody wants to see the fist fight still. You still want to see the super heavyweight punch a guy once, you know?
Of course.
And
right, which is why I do want to see Brainiac in the Lex robot suit with Lex piloting it with Brainiac at the controls.
What if Superman does hit him, and that's how humanity turns against Superman? Like Luthor is immobilized by it.
It could, but that's an Act 1. That's an Act 1 problem.
You're right.
That's not a solution to a story. That's you just being like, what if we did this? And I'm like, okay, well then you don't. Then the villain wins and Superman killed a person, and then we don't have a story. And I don't. That's the Zack Snyder paradigm. What if we had him break his neck? That would be cool. No, that's not Superman. Superman has to outsmart it. And I think by Brainiac piloting the Luthor suit with Luthor inside it, Superman can't go ham on it. Superman has to not kill his arch enemy to stop him. He has to defeat him.
I do like that point of view. I'm just worried about, in the end, it's going to be a battle of different things. And I'm feeling like...
all he's got to do is hold... He's just got to pull his punches.
This kind of story could easily turn into Superman just beating up a bunch of, nobody bad guys.
No, it should be him beating a bunch of drones and stuff
instead of, having a good fight with Luthor or a good fight with Brainiac. You have him beat up, a million, zombies. A million undead things, a million spawned
robots. Yeah. No, you can't do that. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to have a conflict that does do a little bit more mental damage than anything. It has to be a little bit more creative. Because I like the idea of Superman having to fight this robot, this battle, this mecha, if you will, and he can't haul off and punch it as hard as he can. Can't. It's no different than a hero going into a battle without a sword or injured, right? Superman can't unload. He has to hold his punches. He has to.
I agree with that concept. I love that idea that the samurai with the sword knows he could take a swipe and kill the other samurai, but chooses not to do it the entire time.
Because he can't kill Luthor, because then he becomes everything Luthor has warned the world he is.
He doesn't want to. Saying he can't to me sounds like his arms are tied behind his back.
No,
he's been hit with a Krypton ball and now he can't.
No, and he has it.
It's like I don't want to do this because
right.
Because I'm choosing not to fight.
Right, because then he becomes everything that Luthor said he would.
Superman is a pacifist.
It's the same as when Obi-Wan faced off with Darth Vader.
Well, I don't know. He cut Darth Vader's legs off and left him die.
I'm talking about in A New Hope. In A New Hope.
Okay.
It's so funny. I was on the same page with Dad. I totally got that, and then Jay's like, "Yeah, we cut his legs off." No, he didn't. Wait, yeah, the other movie. I totally forgot about that battle for a second. The much cooler of the two battles. I totally forgot about.
But in order to prevent yourself from becoming that evil, you essentially have to allow that evil to come out on top. So maybe at that point in your story, Luthor does come out on top.
I agree. I think that Luthor has to be given. I think it'd be great is if you have the president raising both of their hands to a cheering crowd, and they both look at each other like, I fucking hate this guy. And I have to share it. Luthor's I can't believe I have to share the stage with this disgusting alien guh. And Superman's like, are you fucking kidding me? This guy started the whole damn thing.
Yeah, I love that idea. Maybe think
and
of
I like
the Bob Marley, the old Bob Marley story of Jamaica running a new president for Jamaica, and they both wanted Bob Marley's vote because they knew it would count for a lot of votes in one way, and he invited both of them on stage and raised both of their hands.
Both their hands,
pissed off like crazy because they didn't want to be on one side or the other.
Right.
Yeah.
And Bob Marley.
I love that idea. I mean, we could do it with the president. I think it's the obvious political figure.
The obvious political figure to do it with.
Yeah.
And then that is what I would do. Is I would have, because I do think the best part of Luthor, the best Luthor story ever, is when Luthor becomes president. And I think that should absolutely be a movie. And that's when Luthor goes down. And then if he ever comes back, you could have him be the mad scientist guy. But you have to build Luthor up so that his eventual fall takes place. Like, Luthor should not be a villain in one Superman movie. Luthor should be a villain in 4 Superman movies.
Yeah, because then Luthor himself could be a 3-act play. Yeah.
Absolutely. Luthor is
totally.
Luthor is one of the most fascinating characters. Like, Superman is great. Luthor is such an underutilized, understood. I don't know if that's like a phrase. Like, he's not. People don't grasp what Luthor is capable of. Like, he's so
is this the Luthor movie then?
No, it's both of them, because I think they're mirror
could this
images.
be like simply like Jack Nicholson's Batman, where it is the Joker movie, where this could be like this could be the point of view of Luthor the entire time, where it is the first act of the Luthor trilogy?
No, I think you mirror it. I think you do a mirror story with the two of them, because you can have your antagonist have his own journey too. Mm-hmm. And because you play it out over 4 films, you don't have to have him eating the screen the entire time. Jack Nicholson was the villain in 1 movie. Yes. Like, Luthor, if he's not even the main villain, if he's just a constant force in 3 to 4 movies, you play a good story. Like, and that's what Luthor should be. Luthor shouldn't be a guy who just shows up on occasion. Luthor should be the constant reminder to Superman that no matter what he does, no matter how great he is and how much inspiration he can triumph, there's always going to be a segment of the population that doesn't buy it. And there's always going to be that one guy that he can't bring down. And I think that is my personal interpretation of Superman and Luthor, is that Luthor represents corporate America and the evils of capitalism, where no matter how good you are, these monsters are always going to be there. That is the story I would tell. And again, like, because I think you could stretch it out. Like, Superman 1 could absolutely be Brainiac comes to Earth, which I think it should be. Superman 2, I would totally embrace, just like Donner did. Then I would do Zod out of the Phantom Zone. I would put a different spin on it. Superman 3, I'd probably have Luthor elected president, and it's that whole, and it'd be that thing. Maybe, I don't know, there's a million ideas I could do. And then eventually I would love to do Darkseid, but I think you have to set that up and,
Okay, so let's say this Brainiac Luthor story, Superman, would this be a 3-act story to you? Would this be a 4-act story to you?
I write 3-act.
What would
I would probably do yes, I would do a 3-act. But I might have to make it a 4-act because there's so much backstory, and I don't want to ignore what happened on Krypton.
Now, JD, what do you think of, for one of those acts, telling the story entirely from Lex Luthor's perspective?
It's not a Superman movie, like Matt said. I think you got to balance it.
I mean, I think if you told that same story from both sides, you could get a totally different story out of it that might, advance the other. You
could. Like, I think it's got to be a balance. Like, I think that there's nothing wrong with what I would do is I would do Superman's life, and you would see him, so you get you get connected with him. What I would do for Luthor is I would totally rip off the backstory in Iron Man. I would almost do it like shot for shot, like how they do Iron Man's past. Because Lex Luthor could absolutely be Tony Stark. Like, Lex Luthor is Tony Stark without the humanity.
Would you?
So that's how
assuming people already know the backstory of Superman.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really know the backstory of Luthor.
No,
so how would you explore those both at the same time, like in Act 1 kind of thing? Or would it be like Act 1 would just be exploring Superman growing up?
My Act 1 would be exploring Superman growing up and having, like, the specter of Luthor floating in the back. And then when you meet Luthor, because I think that what I would like to do, okay, so I've always had this idea, and it's never really been done in a movie, but I think it'd be really good. Like, imagine if they did a short film before movies started. So instead of doing a trailer for a movie, what if you did like a 5-minute short?
Okay.
And what I would do is I would do The Destruction of Krypton as its own movie. That would be part of the previews. So instead of getting a preview for the movie, you would get a 5-minute short that would play before, I don't know, this year's Oscar contender. Like, that's what I would do. And then...
Well, yeah, this year's Oscar contender would be Luthor. It would be like, instead of Joker, it'd be Joaquin Phoenix playing Lex Luthor.
Right, and don't get me started. I don't like that, and that actually could be done. But like that's what I would do, so that you could actually, if you want to get away from that, what you're saying, Matt, is doing the whole origin story because everybody knows it. I would do it as a short.
Get away from it. I'm just saying you can save time. You can explore many other things with having already kind of known it.
But not with
the biggest problem with Man of Steel was like Kevin Costner reinventing who the father was. You know what I mean?
It was bad.
And it wasn't like Kevin Costner doing it. Obviously, he's just an actor.
Yeah.
But the story of like trying to say like, oh no, this is who his dad really was. Like, move on. Like, just get to point B. I know point A. Like I've seen it a dozen times. I can kind of even guess what point A was.
I think I do think you need that. Although if you could add what I would do. Okay, so what I would do is I would do the Destruction of Krypton as a movie. Let it live on YouTube. Let it live in theaters. Like do that to hype the Superman movie. And then if you wanted, you could absolutely start it with with Clark Kent comes to Metropolis. Would I do that? No, I think that stuff is important. Or you could lay it all out in flashback as the movie goes along, which would be a different way to do that. You could do that, and then you throw young Clark and Lex at his peak in Metropolis at the same time, and then you could mirror their stories coming up together like that.
How would you do a 5-minute like short film before a movie? Because essentially, you're saying in place of preview, watch this preview for a movie, or this 5-minute short, or this newsreel, and then going into the story. A lot of movies just do that. Just actually have that in the actual beginning of a movie, and then it feeds into something else.
Yeah, you could do that. That's one like a Pixar movie.
As in what? I'm sorry.
Like the Paper Airplane movie that played. I forget what Pixar movie it played before.
Yes, okay. A lot of Disney movies have like their 5-minute shorts beforehand,
like cartoons.
Movie.
Yeah. Like, but I would do that for other movies to hype Superman.
Well, I think it's kind of what Nolan did with releasing the opening sequence of The Dark Knight, only doing it right before The Dark Knight.
Right.
I think that could be pretty cool, especially to those early audiences that go out and don't have a clue for it.
Yeah, and then I think
it's coming.
And I think, yes, 100%. I remember we went and saw I Am Legend specifically so we could see that scene. I want to see more of that, and that's what I would do. I would do the Destruction of Krypton and establish Brainiac as the villain.
So you would just do that. Well, I guess what I'm confused by is you're saying like a 5-minute short. Like to me, it's like you're saying it's the Animatrix. It's something completely different than the actual movie. But attached to it. So do you mean it's actually like the intro of the movie, or do you mean it's a 5-minute short film before the movie actually starts? That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying it's a 5-minute short that plays a year before you see Superman.
Okay.
That's what I would do.
You guys were just describing like how cool seeing the intro of the Batman movie came out before you saw Batman, but that was the intro of the movie.
It was.
So would this like 5-minute short be the intro of this story, and how would you actually do that?
Could it be? Sure, because it's a different story. You just have the tag, hey, Krypton blows up, it's over, Superman, just like they did in the Donner movie. But I'm saying what you could also do, because you're on the whole thing of people don't need to see the origin. I say, fine. Yeah. If you don't need to see the origin, this is how you do it. And you could put it in the middle of the previews if you wanted, or you could not put it in at all. But I'm saying is you put it out a year ahead of time as a short film on its own, and then everyone knows what's going on before you go in there. Or, if you don't want to do it, you could absolutely put it on there at the beginning. It could be ubiquitous like that.
Okay.
It's basically the Marvel post-credit sequence
for the pre-credit sequence.
That'll never be made.
The pre-stinger.
It's a pre-stinger.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. It's something that I would love to see done that isn't done. Like, it would be very, very cool. It would be a very cool way to advertise a movie, is by creating a different movie. Like, it'd be 5 minutes, maybe 10.
A companion piece.
A companion piece. That's a great way to say it. But it also acts as a trailer. That's what I would do. So if you wanted to include it, you can. If you don't, you don't have to. And Matt, if your concerns of no, we don't want to see Superboy or the Superboy stuff, Smallville, absolutely, you could drop Clark right. We could start right away. Drop Clark right into Metropolis with Lex Luthor, and it's the story of the two of them. And then you can flash back if you wanted to, or you could sit there and say, hey, you know what? You know this. Here's the story. I would lean into the Smallville stuff because I think that's important stuff for the character, but I can't argue your point of everybody knows it.
Okay, hold on a second. So, Brainiac and Luthor team up, right? So what if, like, this entire, like, 5-minute trailer of the history of Krypton is literally Brainiac showing it to Luthor?
I see where you're coming from with that.
I'm still trying to make it part of the actual film.
No, I don't want it to
part of the
be.
actual story. It doesn't have to be. I'm
think
just saying it's to me it's you're building something to build something else. Just
yes,
build something else,
that's exactly what it should.
or make it part of it. You know what I mean?
But it could be part of it. Like, you could absolutely put this 5-minute thing before the titles. You could, but it's more fun if you put it out before. If you do it the way you're saying, it's just like what Nolan did, and nothing wrong with that. I love that. But it's just an opportunity to do something different.
Yeah. I guess I'm just worried that you need to see this to get the movie.
You do need to see
You
it
know
to
what I mean?
get the movie.
And that's a huge issue that I hate. I think a movie should stand alone by itself. You shouldn't need to see a prequel or a sequel or whatever to get backstory.
You're right.
Like, you
audience
don't
is
need
totally.
it.
You're
It'd
right.
be great
Audience
if
is
you
totally
knew it.
agree. Matt, you're right. Audiences totally agree with you. That's why Avengers Endgame was a complete failure.
Okay, hi left field. How you doing?
But
I'm right field.
That's Iron Man.
Play
That's Iron Man
right
22.
field.
Endgame was Iron Man 22.
Yeah, totally. They made Iron Man 1. It wasn't just a 5-minute trailer.
But you could have done it that way. You absolutely could. Why not? Like, if you're saying this, the only reason I'm saying
I love the idea of, like, the 5-minute short idea. Mm-hmm. I love that idea. I think it's really cool. I think it's like it's a time capsule by itself. Just why wouldn't that also be part of the actual film if it's actually teasing
it could be
the film?
I'm not saying it can't be. I'm saying that you would just release it a year beforehand.
Yeah, you could totally do that.
So that's what I would do. And that could you put it in part? Absolutely. Do you have to? You don't have to.
I was just saying, I was trying to think of, like, you're learning the history of Krypton. How would this be used in the film? Like, you know what I mean? How would this be part of the film? Like, I was just trying to think, well, Brainiac's the historian. Brainiac knows all this stuff as it is.
No, Superman learns it, or Clark Kent learns it from Jor-El in the recordings.
Yeah.
Same as it's always been. That's how you could do it, or you just make it the beginning of the movie and, like, move on from there.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, it could be. That's the thing, is it works either way. I think it would just be cooler to do a short film to promote a film, which I don't think is something that's utilized enough, especially in a world where we need content all the time and we have different ways to reach people. Giving people this pre-movie to go with your movie on your phone a year ahead of time is a great way to get people excited, because you're going to get way more people watching the YouTube version than will go to the theater to see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I mean, the more content about the story, the better, I think.
That's what I'm saying.
I always get worried that it becomes like, it becomes a modern Tarantino where it's like, okay, it's a 6-hour movie, man. This was 2 movies. This was 2 films. This was 3 films, actually. Like, I don't need a 6-hour film because I'm getting so much more backstory.
And I'm telling you that there's a reason you don't have to do it this way. Like, then you have the option. Then you could have the director's cut where you do put that as the beginning of the movie, or you just release it and you start it. I think it's gutsier to just not have that thing attached to it. Assume everybody has seen it.
I think it's some of the danger the DC movies make nowadays too. Where, like, well, if you knew all the side stuff to it, if you knew all of, like, the side stories that I had, that I released, the comic that I released, the this and that, those filled in the gaps of the story, of the film. If I would have shown you the director's cut, the 4-hour cut, you'd get everything. But I showed you the 3-hour version, and now you're complaining. Look, well, yeah, I came to see the 3-hour version. Why can't I get the whole story? Why do I have to see the 4-hour story in order to get the story?
I'm not talking about a 4-hour story. I'm talking about a 5-minute that could absolutely be the beginning. That could be a different way to market and tell a story.
Yeah,
but you're assuming that people aren't going to look at their phones to watch a video.
I never assumed that.
Well, but Matt, here's the thing, especially with a property like Superman, you're going to have a built-in audience that's going to see the movie, whether it looks a total piece of shit or looks like
The
Gone with
entire DC series right now. It's like, oh, it's terrible, but
at the same
I got my
time,
$10. All right,
by
I'm
putting that 5-minute short out a year earlier, you're just going to give yourself an opportunity to bring in the more casual fan to really wow people, hook them in. So pretty much anyone that goes sees that movie when it comes out in theaters will have already seen that.
Right, and then a studio can make
bumper.
Right, and then a studio can make a decision if they want to put the 5-minute bumper on or not.
And it gives them the opportunity too when it comes out for home distribution. You can buy version A, version B, and studios love making money.
They do. Like you can spend, or there's no reason to buy because it'll live on YouTube forever.
Look at what George Lucas has done with schmucks like me, getting me to buy the same movie 5 different times.
You're stupid. Yeah, you're stupid.
I'm a whore to Star Wars stuff.
Besides Dan being an easy target, can you?
But that's how
can you read? Can you retrace your story for me? Can you retrace the steps of this story for me? So
yeah,
give me a breakdown.
Okay, so we would start. My first idea is the destruction of Krypton, the first 5-minute movie. Jor-El versus the religious leaders of Krypton, arguing about whether or not it's going to be destroyed. Jor-El finds out it is going to be destroyed, and the one who's doing it is Brainiac. Jor-El has to race back to his home and because his plan of getting him into the Phantom Zone is not going to work. Like, Brainiac has shut down access to the Phantom Zone. He's going to silence everyone. So all Jor-El can do is put his only son into the spaceship and fire him off. Fires him off. The planet is destroyed, and all you see is the program of Brainiac moving along.
Okay, give me the breakdown of your actual story idea. All the pieces. Superman versus Lex and Brainiac.
Okay, Act 1. Clark Kent comes to Metropolis because you said you don't want to see the bat origin. Clark Kent comes to Metropolis.
This cat's got claws.
Just for you, Matt.
This is just for you. Clark Kent comes to Metropolis as a freelance photographer and is looking to make himself a name, get a job, while Lex Luthor is kind of on top of the world. I would start with the old school plane crash. We have the debut of Superman. Luthor, everyone is praising Superman. Luthor is immediately distrustworthy of it. So then again, we didn't talk about any of the Daily Planet stuff. We can introduce them. Clark gets a job at Daily Planet, meets Lois. They don't get along right away. And we go from there. Luthor's trying to figure out more about Superman. Has a satellite that's, trying to create this. I think it'll be the MacGuffin story. Is Lex is trying to create the next big operating system type of thing. Bobber, it's a MacGuffin. And in his way of doing that, trying to create AI, let's say that Luthor's trying to do that. And while he does that, he attracts the attention of Brainiac. Brainiac directs Luthor to where Superman's crash site is. So Luthor is the one who learns Luthor learns more about Krypton than Superman ever does. Because he learns it from Brainiac. I just had that idea right now.
I mean, Luthor, that's strikingly similar to Snyder's Luthor.
JD, here's
meaning
a thought
he
for
hops
you.
on the ship and the ship impregnates Jesse Eisenberg with knowledge, and then all of a sudden he turns into freaking Renfield from
No, I don't think you do that.
Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah, no. That's not what you do with this one, though. It's like Brainiac just tells Luthor this, and they're developing a trust between each other, and they both agree that they have to stop Superman.
Okay.
So that's what it would. I mean, you have to build up all the. I haven't even thought about doing a 3-act structure for this thing, but that's what I would start with. That would be the conflict. Is these two have to work together, and then Luthor's trying to manipulate Brainiac to basically be the mainframe for his AI system that would help control the world, his Alexa on steroids, if you will. While his Brainiac allows himself to do that, and it starts ripping the identity of Earth. Luthor realizes what he's doing, goes to Superman, they has to team up with Superman. And then they're trying to defeat Brainiac, and Luthor's battle suit that he made to fight Superman is now hosted by Brainiac, so Superman has to fight Luthor. In the Brainiac suit, he can't kill Luthor to stop Brainiac. He stops Luthor, and he manages to stop Brainiac by means which I haven't figured out yet.
Okay, what if it's a sillier idea of Luthor and Brainiac connecting by Brainiac, shrinks down cities, shrinks down planets, shrinks down whatever, and like keeps them as like toys, keeps them as collections. That was the whole Brainiac idea.
Yeah.
What if Luthor is trying to play with that concept? And what I mean by that is, especially nowadays where people kind of like, I don't know, quarantined and like held up and people can't get outside. What if you could like virtually visit Paris, like Paris in a bottle? Like, what if you could like put yourself in there and walk around and like actually experience the world? And Luthor gets in there, and that's like Luthor. That's his Alexa idea. So it isn't necessarily like an operating system. It's like travel. It's like experience far off places.
Okay, so that'd be an awesome scene if Brainiac is showing Luthor his quote unquote bottle cities, but they're actually just digital projections of things that don't exist anymore. And he's letting him walk through these alien worlds, including the bottle city of Candor, which in this iteration of Superman would just be a digital fingerprint, like a digital memory that you can actually experience. That's a great idea.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just thrown back by the last hour of me and you arguing back and forth, and you going, "That's a great idea." Like, what? How do I respond to that? Oh, wait,
we don't get to hear that very often.
This is the feeling of confidence, right?
Usually you just say things to try to put me in another direction. Like you ask questions like, "What if Superman was evil?" Like, what if Lex Luthor wins and Superman has to go to jail? Like, I don't want to. Like, no.
What if we called it Front Window? For any of you guys that listened to last week's
episode. That was last week's episode. Why does it have to be the rear window? Why can't it be the front window? Matt is like the Hollywood executive that you want to throw things at when you're like, bro,
somebody's got to make the money.
Oh yes, podcasting, the way to real money. But I think that's actually a great MacGuffin side plot. Is Luthor can revolutionize like.
Because it brings out the businessman of Luthor a little bit. Instead of just like the political, let's highlight the Trumpian real estate guy. You know what I mean? Let's not highlight the Trumpian man with the plan who's going to like reinvigorate economies and do this and that. Like, yeah, I'm going to sell you a piece of land. It's a bottle. I'm going to sell you this virtual tour of Budapest. You could do it throughout time too. You can like walk there and like back in the 1700s go listen to like classical music when it was first played,
which gives Brainiac a chance to literally rip our entire planet and create a digital footprint of our planet, and then it's going to destroy our planet the way it destroyed Krypton. So now you've built in a nice little end. You've got the beginning and the end. Now Superman has to do what his father couldn't and save the planet. That's a great Lex Luthor Brainiac skill. Like we have actually done a really interesting take on the bottle cities. Like instead of shrinking them down, you create a digital memory. Like I keep saying a digital memory, but you create like a VR extension of it where you could just pull it up and like it exists for all intents and purposes. But it's like they're shadows, they're ghosts. There's people in there that interact, but they're not like living. They're think
all
they're
ones
living.
And zeros.
But like the Matrix, they think they're living. There could be some really cool shit with that.
Yeah, it seems like there's a weird like Superman within a Superman within a Superman.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Remember I told you guys
there's actually a Superman in this little bottle.
But hold on. Like that could be a great little moment. Is to Brainiac's way to stop Superman is to trap him in Candor. Like I was telling you guys about the man. So to bring it back to the beginning for the man who knew everything, when Mogul straps the Black Mercy to Superman. And he sees the vision of Krypton. He's happy. He's married. He has a child. Mogul gives him a choice. You can stay in this world that's not real. I'll give you everything you've ever wanted. All you have to do is just leave me alone and let me do my thing. But Superman escapes. So this could be the same thing. Brainiac gives him a chance to live in the world because Superman's an alien. He's never really felt he holds humanity up so high because these are the people that he's always grown up around, but he's not quite like them, right? So Now he's got people that don't trust him. Brainiac gives him Candor. He says, this is your home. I'm giving you your home. It's just as good as what it really was.
Okay.
You will never know the difference.
To lead
you
into
accept
that?
it?
I love that idea.
Me
To
too.
lead into that, like Superman's got to break out of something and realize the game, what's going on before he's offered that offering.
Just
So
like
it
in the
gives me-
comic.
So he
yeah.
knows the outcomes both ways. And what if the outcomes is Superman's walking around and all of a sudden he knows he's in Metropolis, but this ain't Metropolis.
Yeah.
Like he's in like a VR simulation of Metropolis because that's like Lex's first idea is to sell Metropolis to people, like tourism, baby. Like maybe I can't build all the other cities, but I can sure as heck bring Metropolis to you instead of you coming out to Metropolis. And then all of a sudden, like that's where Brainiac Lex first traps like Superman. He traps him in the bottle of the VR city of Metropolis.
I think it's better if
he
you
gets
put...
out of it and goes, okay, well, Brainiac's like, yeah, we got you, but we got this for you behind door number 2.
No, don't even do the door number 2. Like, it's got to be like Superman wakes up and he's in Candor. So that, again, it connects it to our digital our short film that we released a year ago. We recognize everything, right? We're in the same world. And Superman knows it, and we know it too, even though we didn't see it in this movie. Now I'm being convinced that it shouldn't be connected to it. Now Superman has a chance to live the life that he could have known on Krypton.
It's the last temptation of Superman.
Last temptation of Superman. And then he has to overcome, and that's what's he doing? He's overcoming his feelings of inadequacy. He has to literally embrace the human side of him to balance it out with the Kryptonian side of him. That's how you can beat Brainiac. I don't know if that's an end of Act 2 or an end of Act 3 or what, but there's something there. There's something there with that.
Now, hey, JD, to backtrack a little bit, I just had a thought.
We're all over the fucking place. Go for it.
Yeah, we're everywhere.
There's no backwards. This is like
we've gone
Doctor
from
Who. Time is a
prequel to
windy
Act
ball
3
of
to
doodads
Act 2 to last week.
Right.
We've traveled everywhere in this hour thus far.
All I know is I love
we
Superman.
act like we know what we're
Go
talking
ahead.
about.
No, what if, you tease the ending at the beginning of the film, and you've set it up with this short film either right before the movie or a year before, and then that first frame you see after the opening credit sequence is both of their hands being raised by the president.
I like it.
That's an
Visually.
image that nobody would ever expect to see. Everyone, not even people that are fans of comic books, know that Lex Luthor is Superman's arch enemy. And if the first thing you see after the credits are them both being heralded, and then the rest of the show, or the rest of the of the movie is flashback. How did we get to this point?
Right,
Sure.
and I think
even if
it'd
you
be
don't
fun.
know Superman or Lex Luthor, who they are at all in general, you just have both of them have their hands raised and just do this.
I'm not sold on
And
that.
then you
as
suspect something is weird.
I'm not sold on that. And I think that's a powerful, more of a final image or one of your final images. Like, I like the idea of raising two hands together. Like, part of me almost says, like, if you want to go back to the Smallville, the interpretation that Lex and Superman grew up together in Smallville, which I can go either way. I'm not married either way. And, like, what if they both have their hand raised as kids? And you recreate the moment later.
Okay, so you call back.
It's a callback more so than a parallel, More so than like you're seeing into the future, and I think that Lex should help Superman break out of the bottled city in some way, because Lex knows they're fucked and the planet's going to be destroyed. So Lex has a moment too, because he has to have that kind of a hero moment. Like, even though he set all this shit up and he's the one that got the ball rolling on it, like, he has to be the one to ask Superman for help, because nobody else can beat this thing.
It's true. I like that idea. Nobody else knows where Superman is. Kind of
Right,
thing.
Lex can't get him out, but Lex can be the one to say, "This is a lie. You're being lied to." And it's fun to have Lex do it too, because Lex is a liar. You know, Lex sells the lie, like you say. He wants people to do the virtual vacations. It's a lie, and now he's got to get Superman out of his. I mean, there's a lot going on here. Man, I want to write this. There's a lot here.
Cool. Lex's Lex vacations. Lex
I don't know if you
Lexcation.
I don't know if you really want, like, going the Smallville route and having Lex and Superman having known each other since they were kids, do you really think that works in a feature film?
It's a good question, Dan. I think it's one of those things where does it add to the story?
I don't know.
Or does it just
think
show
it
off
takes
the story?
away from it for the purposes of this story.
Like I said, I'm
because
not married to it.
Allow either of them to see the humanity in the other.
Like I say, I like the idea of building. Like I said, you can do that. Like I said, I'm not married to the idea of Superman and Lex knowing each other from their youth. It's been done. I don't hate it. I'm not, like I said, not married to it. But it's a way. What I don't want to see is I don't want to see the future where, like, you see the last shot of the movie before the beginning. It doesn't make any sense. Like, I can't. Maybe it's in my head. I can't figure it away. But I would like to see Luthor with his hand raised. I think that's okay. And then at the end, you see both of them with their hand raised. I think it could work. There's something there. I just haven't figured out the mechanics of it. But I think it can work. There's something there. So,
has there ever been exploring the story of Superman? Sorry to cut off your ending like crazy.
I could talk Superman.
I have a visual
days.
image in my brain. I just gotta transmit it. I'm trying to connect dots here. This would be a film idea. It's a very visual medium. So it would be like something as simple as modern day Metropolis. Somebody like a teacher showing a student in a planetarium. Like we're gonna see like this is right now a supernova happening like in the distance of space. And this was like literally the star that ate and blew up the home planet of Superman. Has there ever been that kind of image done with Superman in comics, where like to try to literally speed by the origin story and just go, look at that, it's like a star exploding in the sky. That probably happened 1,000 years ago. That kind of thing.
I like it. Could it actually be done? Absolutely. It'd be a cool way to do it. Like I said, especially if I commit to the idea that I want to do of like you do this pre-movie a year before.
Yeah,
that could work.
I think one image that just attaches to the beginning of the story. It's just a random idea. I thought it was like a random visual thing that popped in my brain. Please continue with your sign off.
No, I was saying like our hour is up. We've spent an hour 20 on this show talking about one of my favorite things in the world, and that's a possible Superman movie, one that I'm never going to get to make, but it was fun to play fan fiction for a day, and I'm sure if someone listens to it, is going to be like, that's stupid. JD doesn't know what he's talking about. That's what's fun about these comic
JD had done his own homework
Totally.
for him instead of Matt doing his homework for him. JD could appeal to that person in the audience.
Well, this is better than what I would have done, because last week I wanted to do Green Lantern and you wouldn't let me. So, and I've actually spent more time thinking about a Superman movie that I would like, because I was so excited for Man of Steel. The trailer looked so good. Like, I really wanted this to be a great movie, and it fell so short of my expectations. You know, so
that story.
If I had my maybe yeah, they do, and that's part of the thing too. Is like a movie in your head will never live up to the movie that gets put out, which is why I try to go into everything with no expectations. So it is what it is. But if I ever had the chance to do my own version of Superman, that's what it would be. That's how I would do it. So that's at least I should say. These are the bones that I would start with to make a story. 'Cause this is all we do on this show is we just try to figure out a direction that a story can go. It's impossible to write a story in an hour, but it's dang possible to figure out if a story is worth telling. And this would be my Superman.
I think there's definitely something here that could be told and could be very entertaining.
I think so too. Like I said, I love Superman. I could talk about it forever.
Yeah, it's just fun to talk about now. So.
Yeah, we did it for an hour 23. You got any final thoughts on our Superman movie that'll never be? Oh, and by the way, if anyone from Warner Brothers hears this podcast and knows where I'm signing digital waiver right now, an audio waiver, you can take my idea and make $1 million with it. I don't. It's Superman. You know, I don't own it. So like, please, I'm begging you, please rip me off.
If I see the Lex vacation story in the future, I'm gonna be upset.
No, you want it to be that way. Like that's
I know. That's the funny. Go ahead and steal my idea.
Here's what makes
I'm
comics.
the generator. Have fun with it.
No, here's what makes comics a different medium than film or television or novels is the fact that comics are the closest thing we have to American folktales.
Yeah.
Right. when they're told around the fire, and every time someone else tells it, you add another story to it. You add another adventure of Paul Bunyan. And did you know he had a blue ox? Yeah, Paul Bunyan had a blue ox named Babe. And then another person said, "Oh yeah, Paul Bunyan and his blue ox Babe. Yeah, they made the Great Lakes with the big footprints." Like, that's how comics is. Like, comics is you add something. Like, the next guy comes along and he puts something else into the story. So I mean, like, the character that Siegel and Schuster created is not the one that Brian Bendis is writing today. Yeah. But everyone that's told a story before him has taken a little something and added something to make it what it is. And that's what makes comics cool, corporate comics specifically. What makes it cool is the opportunity to add to the tapestry.
Completely. Just add to the story, change it a little bit, adapt it to modern times, bring it to a different audience. I think I, like you, JD, and Dan, would have loved to have been part of the audience that really enjoyed Man of Steel.
Yeah,
I would have enjoying that movie.
Right, and if you like Man of Steel, that's fine. You can, you're perfectly okay to like whatever you want to like. I'm never going to tell someone that what they like is wrong, even a movie that I hate as much as this one, or as much as that one. But like I said, the things about something like Superman is, like, there's different interpretations of him. The Silver Age Superman could juggle planets. The Bronze Age Superman, only could fly so far. The Silver Age, the Golden Age Superman, literally could only leap over tall buildings in a single bound. He couldn't fly, Like,
which one did super arithmetic again? I forget.
So anything silly is from the Silver Age. The Silver Age Superman is ridiculous, but there's a charm to that. Like, there's a charm. Like All-Star Superman is the best Superman book ever written, and that's Grant Morrison aping the Silver Age Superman. So I mean, there's stuff there. Like, and if told right and told with, like, the proper amount of love, there's just not a bad version of Superman to me.
I agree.
I love the character.
Yeah.
I love the character.
I like Superman. I like Batman. I just don't think it's very fun when one becomes the other one. I agree. I think it's really fun when they fight each other because they're so different. But when you make them both the same person, it's kind of boring.
And that's what Batman and Superman got wrong. It's like, it was way too much of a Batman movie. It was it didn't feel like Superman. That to me. But enough dogging on something else.
Yeah.
What do you think about Superman? Do we just waste an hour and a half of your time? Or do you think there's something there? Let us know. Talk to us on Twitter. Talk to us on our email address. Let us know what you think.
What are those addresses again?
I forget, Matt.
I was really hoping I'd lead you in there. Is that
I was. I didn't.
The story builder?
I drew a blank. Stand by. Edit point. Twitter. Twitter.
Okay, Dan, it's me and you now. It
won't let me log in.
Let's all go to the lobby.
Forget ourselves.
Because JD's done no homework.
I won't let me log in. Stand by.
He shows up late to the podcast.
There we go.
I
got it.
He didn't do any of the backstory that he was supposed to do.
Doing homework means we're going to develop a rom-com next week.
Oh, we can do that.
We're doing that.
That's your favorite kind of movie.
Honestly, Dan, I have my phone open right now. My 3 ideas were Easter horror. The JD has a side story that he likes to work. He's currently working on for a continuation of novels he's doing with a special character called Ethan Jericho. And my third idea was a James L. Brooks style rom-com.
That's next week. So you can tell us what you think at the story on Twitter. Storybuilder Podcast. That's at StorybuilderPod on Twitter. Tweet at us. Let us know why our ideas suck or why you think they're great, or somewhere in between. You think we're mediocre.
Options. That's what people like.
Options are important. Come back next week where we try to do a rom-com and 3 dudes in their late 30s screw it up completely. For the Storybuilder Podcast, I'm JD.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Dan. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
In the world of Superman, everyone believes in him, except one man. And that belief is reserved for all aliens in Metropolis. And Metropolis is a city full of outsiders. Lex Luthor discovers a way to reduce the amount of foreigners and at the same time make a little money too. Virtual vacations. The ultimate VR version of Metropolis anyone can visit without leaving their home. The secret behind the gimmick? Lex designs an alternative reality with a little help from Brainiac. The duo joins forces and uses the new AR tech to capture Superman. But when Brainiac turns the tables on Lex and steals Lex's beloved Metropolis for his own collection of shrunken worlds, Lex must confront his worst fear: trust in Superman.